How are you now? Wednesday night, String Theory. And there's 5 of me in the room. Thank you very much, and we appreciate all those other JPs who shut the hell up. String Theory, Wednesday night, the live YouTube show where you ask the questions and I tell you to go. I tell you all the answers to do with anything stringed. We're having a good day now.
So far, so good.
It's a black killer storm where we are right now. The interweb seems to be, well, they're inside, so we're in no danger of blowing up or electrocuting ourselves or anything during the program. A special thanks always to our kind partners, G&G Music in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, Glenn Gotel, my brother, Fantasy Music in Halifax, Boucher Guitars, Levy Straps, Gallagher Guitars, Recording King Guitars, K&K Sound, Yamaha, and a bevy of other people and companies that are in the studio with me all the time and have been for years that I use to do this job with. If you like what you see on this program, if you haven't hit subscribe, please hit subscribe. It helps us immensely. Hit the notification bell so you'll know when we're putting stuff up online and getting all jiggy. And then if you really want to get fancy, you can join the private membership where I show naked pictures of Jack, the dog. So, that's the show. Good night. Have another beer, JP.
How are you doing now?
How are you now? The wonderful Ginger is over there with her own microphone.
That didn't break?
Replete with her pajamas covered in some sort of seafood caricature cartoon. Look like sharks and dolphins from here. I don't know what they are.
It's lizards and dogs.
What?
Lizards and dogs.
Oh, lizards and dogs. Okay, well, that was close enough.
Mm-hmm.
Both all mammals.
Something like that.
Something like that. So there you go. How are y'all doing? It's good to see you. And, yeah. So let's take the first question and see what kind of trouble we can get into right away.
First one I see is from Caper Away.
Caper Away, a regular attendee of our festivities here on String Theory. Mm-hmm. What's your question?
Have you tried the Recording King Dirty 30s mandolin? Do you think it would be a good mandolin to start on? I know you like Eastman from the Master Music Method videos, or would I be better with an Eastman?
The Recording King mandolins aren't so good. They're okay. I mean, they're okay, but and they're cheap. So if you want to really like a rank beginner mandolin, you could get away with one. But if you wanted to, spend a little more money, you could get an Eastman that would last you probably most of your life. Some of the satin finish A-style mandolins, Ginger even has one, was mine. I used it for years, recorded with it and everything. She plays it now, and then I have 2 more Eastmans here that I
just want to clarify that.
Well, that's your opinion, but you'd be better off. Your money's better spent with Eastman. I mean, no offense to Recording King. Their mandolins are good for beginners, but they potentially, mandolins are bizarre. It takes a lot to build a great mandolin. It's not a simple instrument. It's one of the most difficult constructs in the business, and finding great mandolins is incredibly difficult. It doesn't matter what price point you're at either. Like, you can walk into a shop like the 12th Fret and play a $7,000 Gibson F5 Fern, and it just doesn't cut it. or it doesn't cut it for you, right? And then you go over and you play an $8,000 Collings, and that might not even cut it for you. It's just something about the instrument. Mandolin is very difficult to play. It's hard in the hands. It's hard. It's a small instrument. It's trying to command this huge voice out of a very small space. So, and I've owned those instruments, but I keep coming back to the Eastmans because they're just, for the money, they sound fantastic for the money, and they'll last forever. So that would be my choice. You can, if you want to buy a mandolin in case you think you might play. You know what I mean? Recording King would have enough inspiration. If you are determined to play, buy the Eastman, because the Eastman will last you for most of your life. I couldn't see you wearing. It's not going to wear out. It's only going to get better. They're built out of solid woods, and those things, that all counts. So, yeah. Anyhow, there you go. There's my advice. Hope you get a Mando. Mm-hmm. Who's next?
John.
John. Mm-hmm. From Ireland?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Another John. He's wondering if you have any of the guitars represented on your T-shirt.
Yes, Sachin. Mm-hmm. Sachin Guitars in Regina. Peter, I believe his name is. I'm drawing a blank. Sorry. I wasn't expecting that question. He has a great builder out there, and he builds great mandolins. And he's got a beautiful shop out in Regina. And I've known him for a long time. Good guitar builder, good mandolin builder. If you ever need repairs, if you're in Regina, he's the man. He's the best guy I know, and a lovely man, too.
Do you have any of the guitars?
I do not. No, I do not. I can't afford one. They're pretty high. They're pretty high. Yep. Who's next?
Jim Hanlon.
Jimmy Triple J Hanlon Izzle. Hizzle, Pasizzle, Hanlon Fizzle.
Oh dear. Oh my. He's wondering what the details on your Gallagher, woods, etc.
It's a straight guitar. It's I'm not sure if it's Sick or Engelmann, but it's a beautiful 4+ top, and Indian rosewood back and sides, mahogany neck, and Bob's your uncle. It's the traditional version of the G70, and so yeah, she's a beast. She's a beast. I've been working her out here in the studio occasionally over the last few weeks, and God, it's a guitar I haven't even tapped the whole potential of yet. It's it's a beauty. Dave Gunning played it and said it was the perfect dreadnought. And I tend to believe it's something special. It really is, for multiple reasons for me. My connection with the company through Doc Watson, and then knowing David, that owns the company now, and how well he treated me, and they've enjoyed some extra attention because of the work I'm doing with them and the videos and stuff, and I'm glad about that. They're a legacy company, so it's nice to see them making a big comeback. Well, everybody's making a big comeback right now with the pandemic, so they're just one more success story. Great boutique luthiers building amazing guitars. So it's amazing. Yeah. Who's the next?
Shane Arsenault.
I know Shane Arsenault. Mm-hmm. Shane Arsenault.
On the cover of Now That the Work Is Done, you're throwing a guitar behind you. What kind of guitar was it? Did it land on a cushion? And what was taking that picture like?
It was a Morgan, built by Dave Iannone in BC. He builds tremendously nice guitars. And I was not throwing a guitar in that picture. I was throwing a shoe. And later on, they took the shoe out and put the guitar in through the magic of Photoshop. So I never threw the guitar. So now I've told you that, I have to kill you. So sorry. I'll be over to your house later. All right. Who's next?
Mark T. Have you ever played Weber instruments, mandolin or guitars, before? And if so, what's your opinion of them?
I did indeed play a Weber. I bought a Weber Yellowstone, which was the first like super expensive mandolin I ever bought. I bought it at Music Stop in Halifax 20 years ago, and it's the mandolin that appears on that album. Now that the work is done, that's the mando from that record. I didn't keep the mandolin. The guys who built that the people at Yellowstone are tremendously nice people. They're from Bozeman, Montana, and I wasn't really happy with the mandolin. I mean, it's there. It was a good mandolin, but it wasn't. It didn't have really the potential to be that big woody, honking thing that mandolin players want. And I wanted to get some, you know, I wanted to, pimp it out a little, and I wanted to send it back to the guys at Weber, and they were all for it. And I I don't remember how that turned out, but it ended up not happening. And I eventually I traded the mandolin off on something else. If I'm not mistaken, I traded it for a Chupik, which is a Czechoslovakian builder. He's incredible, that guy, and I had that mandolin for many years. And I switched over to Mark. Damn, I don't remember his name now. Anyhow, he was an American builder, utilizing Asian shops, and then I went to a Collings A style, and then I went to after the Collings went into the Eastman, and I've been with Eastman ever since. I've been using Eastman for well over a decade, and I just like them. I love the way they are. So the Collings A style I had was a beast, but it was just way too much mandolin for me. I don't need that much mando. So yeah, I had a Weber Yellowstone, and I've never played their guitars. I actually didn't know they made guitars, and but they are fine instruments. They're very expensive for the possibility of maybe getting one that's not they're not bad, but they're just not that thing that mandolin players want. It's hard to define. Big tone and big volume and fat sounding, and some of the Weber mandolins I find sound very dainty with not a lot of projection. They have great tone, but they don't have that that projection. So I don't know. I've also heard Webers that sound incredible. So it is what it is. It's hard to like I said, mandolins are the strangest beasts. There's only thing stranger than the mandolin, to please a player are violins. Same idea. One person might love a fiddle, and then the next guy comes along, and like it's happened to me. I've listened to somebody play the fiddle, and they sound so good on that fiddle, and I take their fiddle and I sound like shit. And it's just like, what? This is what you were playing? And it's just, they love it because they sound good on it, and another person might not. And so yeah, it's a very interesting arena, mandolins and fiddles like that. Alrighty, who's next? We have super chats up already.
A couple, yeah.
Oh, cool.
What's a super sticker?
Oh, a super sticker.
It's just a pair saying, how's it going?
Cool.
Um,
Brought my own fog machine again tonight.
Next is Joe.
Brother Joe?
Mm-hmm.
Brother Joe.
What brand of Dobro do you prefer?
Dobro?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I play a gold tone, Paul Beard model, and it's the best one I've ever owned, and that's about all I know. I mean, there's some really, really great Dobro builders, but I don't play enough Dobro to invest that kind of money in the instrument. That Paul Beard, that gold tone, sounds incredible, and it was not expensive. I think it was around $1,200 or maybe $1,000, something like that. Gold Tone is a really cool company. Another Chinese, another American-owned Chinese deal, right? And yeah, so that's about all I know. Gold Tone, that's what I play. And I know some people want to go out and find, Dobros, but they're okay. I've played them. They invented it. But as for, you know, that's what I have. I don't. And strangely enough, it's you don't see them. You don't see Dobros. That the brand name, you hardly ever see them. And when I do see them, they're not Dobros. They're resonator guitars with six-string necks on them, right? Like a guitar neck on them instead of a square neck. And so yeah, there's that as well. I probably would own an authentic Dobro, which incidentally, Dobro stands for I don't remember their name, but they were brothers, and that's what their name started with Do. They were Italian, if I'm not mistaken. Dominic or Dola something. They had a name that started with Do, and they were something brothers, and they shortened it and made the company called Dobro. And these instruments, these resonator guitars, they invented these things, and they were initially, I guess, called Hawaiian guitars or slide guitars or lap guitars, but the design was so epic, it became the design for that type of instrument, and they became known as Dobros. So it's really the name of the original company, the two brothers that started in I don't know where they were in the States, somewhere. And it's an interesting bit of history. You should look it up if you don't know about where Dobros come from and who invented them. It's a cool story, very cool. So, good question, Joe. Awesome. My brother Joe, I love him. He's my man. He's the man. My first teacher taught me how to wash my liver out in the kitchen sink.
Liver.
Who's next?
Herschel.
Herschel Rector?
Yes.
Herschel, how you doing, buddy?
When writing a timeless song, which is more important, words or melody?
Well, it's probably 50-50. And to be more succinct, I think the lyrics of the verses become immortal, and the melody of the chorus becomes immortal. When I think of those things, I think of the choruses are just the tags and whatever, but it's the melody change in the chorus that makes something really pop, and then it's the body of the song, which is in the verses, where all the great lyric is. So that's sort of how I feel about that. That's how I've always tried to write my own songs. Epic verses that have a lot to say, followed by a chorus with a much simplified lyric, but some musical idea that's repetitive and beautiful. Like that's sort of my take on that. Thanks, Herschel. Who do we have up there next?
Steve McIntyre.
Time goes so fast in this show. Jeez. Steve McIntyre.
Yes. If you're not having a great day, how do you get yourself pumped up to do a show?
I punch the cat.
Whiskey.
Whiskey? No.
That's my answer for you.
Whiskey. Say the question again.
If you're not having a great day, how do you get yourself pumped up to do a show?
Oh, right. Well, I punched the cat. Oh, sorry. No. I don't know. That's sort of I don't need to get pumped up to do show. It's built in. I'm already so. I mean, I'm pacing around this room before this show, like I was about to go on stage. So it's just built in. I don't have to. Part of it is terror, and the other part of it is excitement and enjoyment, right? So there's an even mixture. Jill's sleeping, her nose is whistling. There's an even mixture of terror and excitement. That's so that happens without me wanting it to happen. So there's no getting pumped up. The only time I've ever had to pump myself up before a show is if I was deathly ill, which I have been many times standing backstage with everything from pneumonia to food poisoning to COVID in the spring, in February. And it's just not something I have to really think about. I get pumped up, just the idea of addressing, you know, more than 5 people at a time, and I'm ready to go. So, yeah, that's it. That's that.
Fair enough.
Who's next?
I'm probably going to slaughter this name, but I'm going to say Callie Antonin.
Antonin? Antonin?
Antonin? I don't know.
Hansel? Hansel?
It's my best guess. I'm
Okay.
sorry if I ruined it. JP, if you were to get a triple O, which would be your only one? And if you were to get a triple O, which would be your only one? And options were Recording King Series 11 and RO 328. Which one would you buy and why? While also being price conscious.
Oh, the Series 11. There's not even a question. This thing's still on the stand. This has been on my guitar stand since I got it. This is the Triple O Series 11. And I love this guitar. It's been sitting around for a few days. Love this thing. It's so fun to play. And it's a very responsive guitar. It's been sitting here in the air conditioning for days. And I've used it in the studio. I've used it
It's really the only place we've been in the last 3 months.
yeah, I was just thinking, I just used this on a major recording for my new album, and it completely just inspired the whole thing. You just can't beat this for this price. You're just not going to be able to beat this instrument. If you like that body style, I mean, it's all solid mahogany. The RO 328, of course, is probably $300 or $400 more than this guitar, and it's a great guitar. I love my RO 328. But there's something magical about this model, because I think mostly because of this satin finish, which really lets this mahogany, it turns it loose in a big way. There's so much color in this guitar, whereas the RO 328 has a heavier finish on it, and it's a bit more subdued, and that's it. There's not any huge difference. I suppose, in an environmental sense, this guitar won't last as long as the RO 328 because of the matte finish, but unless you're playing the guitar like outside in a rainstorm every week, it's not going to hurt it, right? So, and I love the neck of this thing. I love the neck. The neck on the 328 is very similar to this one. But I just love these things. And everybody that I see, all the dealers that are getting these 11s, man, they're just freaking out because they're coming out of the box just ripping like a cannon. And they play like a dream. They have a tremendously good neck. The intonation's perfect. And yeah, so for budget money, man, that's the way to go. And of course, you know about you know about what my other suggestion will be if you are looking for a triple OM body guitar to spend money, go with Boucher because they make, in my opinion, the best OM body on the planet. I've never heard any guitars better. I actually have one out today, the Ivory Girl, the very first one I ever bought from Robin, and it's just a straight rosewood, you know, Sitka. I don't know if it's Adirondack on that or not. I think it might be, but you know, for $3,400, it's a lifetime guitar, and it'll eat everything in the room, no matter where you go, right? So, but if you're looking to spend under $1,000, I think those are only around 600, maybe 699. Check at Fantasy Music. Fantasy has these. Fantasy has Series 11. G&G and Antigonish, I think, have a couple. And unfortunately, Recording King is just like every other guitar company right now. They're back ordered. Everybody is buying guitars. It's incredible. Like even Boucher had to postpone all their employees' vacations so that they could literally build enough guitars to supply G&G Music, because Glenn is selling so many Bouchers that he can't keep them. And Fantasy's about to take off too. They've got 4 of them down there, and they've got lots of these, and they have lots of the Yamaha, the high-end Yamaha, the F series, L series, and 800 series of Yamaha. And man, people are just selling guitars like it's insane. It's in the best possible way, right? That's what we want. I want people to buy guitars because, you know, I've said it a million times, like it's the best thing in the world to cure what ails you. I don't care what your problem is. You put a guitar in your hand, and whatever the problem is going to either get way better or just go away. And that's the truth. I do it every day. So there you go. So I hope you choose the 11. The 11's the way. I think. Try them both. If you can find an RO 328 and that side by side, play them both and make the decision. If you go with the 328, it's absolutely worth the extra money because it's stronger built. It's rosewood. It's Adirondack spruce top. These are not Adirondack. So there's all of that to consider as well. So there you go. That's my advice. Who's next?
Got a super chat from Jeff Gallant. He says, "How the hell are you now? Much love from PEI."
Oh, Jeff. As soon as you said PEI, I realized, hey, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. That's amazing.
And we also have a super chat from Cam.
Oh, Mr. McMaster's in the house.
He ran out of a car dealership to be here.
I see. Well, that's good because they didn't need your money. We need your money.
He says, for a fee,
we're cheaper.
Yeah. Have you ever considered one-on-one mentoring via Zoom or FaceTime?
To be quite honest with you, I can't do it because we don't have the internet connection here.
Maybe one day.
We're going to have it at some point, so they say. But until we get it, until we get fiber up here, Zoom and those type of platforms just don't work here. So we do these shows and all of our broadcasts and uploads through a box that basically turns cell service into a Wi-Fi, which is incredibly expensive. It's unbelievable how much that thing costs a month when you're using data to get everything out. So until we get the fiber op situation done here, I won't be able to do anything like that. But if I had the capability, I might be able to do some things, but it would cost a lot of money. I wouldn't do it for it would cost them a lot of money because it's time, right? I'd have to charge a lot of money to get it to do it because I have so little time. You know, here in the studio, we're just always working. We're either doing this, or I'm recording, or I'm editing a video, or I'm shooting a video, or I'm traveling to different stores and different places, and then I'm also taking the very, very occasional live gig. And so time becomes so premium that it would cost a lot of money to be able to do that. I think it might cost I might have to charge you like $5. It's no good.
Totally break the bank.
Yeah. Who's next?
Tim Bennett.
Tim Bennett, still in India.
I believe so. Yes.
Cool. How you doing, Tim?
Were you able to find out the name of the Pictou County guitar builder?
I was. I called him just before the show. His name is Dave Gagnon. He's in Pictou. His guitars are called Gagnon, Gagnon. And according to Dave Gunning, he's an ex-Mountie, an ex-RCMP officer. And I went through his Facebook page. He doesn't have a website. But if you go on Facebook and look up Dave G, that's how he's on Facebook. And you can tell it's him because when you see his page, there's quite a few pictures of his guitars. I'm hoping he calls me back tomorrow because I wouldn't mind getting one her for review. I don't know if I don't think he's having a hard time selling them, from what I've been told. So, but I'd like to feature one somehow on the channel if it was possible. And because there's really not that many Nova Scotian builders, not many at all, like only 3 or 4 that I can think of. And many of them have been in the game for decades, so they don't really need my help, but Dave might. So I'm going to reach out to him and see if I can't showcase one of his instruments here. I think that'd be really cool. And you never know, it might, I don't know how much, I don't know how many he's building a year. I don't know any of these things. I called and left a voicemail and asked him to get back to me. So hopefully he will. So there you go. Dave Gagnon, guitar builder extraordinaire from Pictou County. Or he's not from Pictou. He's French, actually. He may be from Quebec. I'm not sure, but definitely a French name. So it makes sense. He might be. He may have been transferred into this province and retired and decided to stay here, which is what a lot of Mounties do actually when they come here. So yeah, hopefully he'll get back to me. I'd love to meet him and play his guitars. Dave Gunning played one and said it was just amazing. So there we go. Who's next?
Another question from your brother.
Joseph.
Do you have webbed feet?
I do not have webbed feet.
Inquiring minds want to know.
But I did once do things to a duck.
What?
So I won't say what.
Oh dear.
Well, you're reading the questions. You get what you get.
Yeah, but you're coming up with the answers.
All right, who's next?
And moving on. Matthew James.
Matthew James.
Have you ever played Huss and Dalton before? If so, what do you think of their instruments?
I have played Huss and Dalton just briefly in the 12th fret in Toronto, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. They're incredible guitars, but I find a lot of boutique guitars are. I mentioned this in a video that's going to be uploaded soon. I did a review of a guitar today, and most boutique guitars sort of have the same overarching qualities. You know, they sound huge. They have big bottom ends. They're sort of all the same somehow. A lot of them, right? So if you play a Huss and Dalton, you're going to get that big, huge tone and whatever, and that's that. You pick up a Bourgeois, you're going to get that big, huge bottom end and this and that, and a Collings. They all sort of set the whole spectrum of the instrument on stun, right? So it takes a lot to set yourself apart from that. And so, like, while I know people that own Huss and Dalton that swear by them, and I'm sure they could build me one I'd like, but it's just not something I would gravitate to because I don't know, they're of what I've just said. Like they're incredible, and they might be the guitar you might want, you know, because they're not cheap, and neither are any of these builders, and but they're They're nice guitars. They are nice guitars. I just worked with a guy that has a couple of them actually, and they sound incredible. Um, but I just don't know. Like you can get sort of the same qualities from most builders, right? So it's like Thompson. Thompson's a great sounding guitar. Bourgeois, Boucher, Gallagher, like it just depends on what you want. They're all subtly different, and I will never say anything against bad against any of these builders because they all have something amazing, and it just depends on who you are as a player and a musician and whatever, and what level of guitar head you are. That's going to dictate which one of those instruments you might gravitate to and eventually buy. And it's amazing. Actually, there's you can put 20 guitars together and be shocked by who picks which one. That's the amazing thing about guitars. I might pick up a Boucher, of course, or I might pick up a Thompson, or I might pick up and the guy next to me doesn't go for that at all. He goes for the Martin from the custom shop, or he goes for the Gallagher, or he goes for the Loudon. And you can sit 20 guitars up and put 6 guitar players, and most of them will pick, there'll be guitars left over. You know what I mean? Like they'll just be geared towards whatever body size, wood choice, all those things. It's so subjective. But on the whole, Huss and Dalton is an incredible company. They're great builders, and they're right up in there with all the rest of those guys. They're on the cutting edge of building. What do they call it? I just drew a blank. Another one for the day. Heirloom guitars. That's the word I'm looking for. Guitars they build guitars that will easily be handed down through family members for a century or more, right? So there you go. Who's next?
Wingfoot 48.
What?
Wingfoot.
Wingfoot.
Yes, clearly not their real name.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Excuse me. What's the best Yamaha guitar with a cutaway? Is there a does the red label have a cutaway?
Damn. I don't know that it does. That's an interesting question. I don't know that. I've never seen a red label with a cutaway. So, in that case, if you're buying a Yamaha at that price point, that means you want to go with, the L series. The L series is the key. L series comes in full body and cutaway in all 3 sizes. The L, the straight L, the L, like you could even start at L16, which would be an L16C or CE, cutaway electric. And then the LS is the small body, and then there's the LJ, which is an advanced deep body. It's not huge like an SJ200 Gibson, but it's slightly fatter, slightly deeper, and they also come in a cutaway. So that would be any Yamaha that's followed by the letter CE, cutaway electric. Yeah, so the L series is where you want to head for. Some of the L16s, especially the L16D, which denotes, I believe, deluxe. It has an abalone trim around the front. They're gorgeous, and they make them in. They do sunburst, natural, and black for colors, which is very interesting because the Yamaha black finish does something to the sound of the guitar. I don't know what it is, but it does something really cool. to those guitars, and so does the Sunburst process. I don't know what they're doing with those instruments, but they're really kicking it out of the park. So the F red labels, I haven't seen one with a cutaway. I could be wrong. It might exist. But if you're looking for the Yamaha at that level of quality and price, it's the L series you're looking for. And I would start with the 16s. They're going to be priced around, actually they're going to be less than the red labels. You can get an L16 for about $13.99. Whereas if you bought the FX5, it's nearly $2,000, and the FX3 is about $13.99. So, yeah, so that's what I would look for, and there are lots of them. They are around. You can find them, here, there, and everywhere. Long and McQuaid is the best place to go. Also, depending on where you are, Fantasy Music in Halifax is our sponsored Yamaha dealer. So they would be able to order just about anything that you might want if it's available. As I said earlier, there's a big shortage right now, right across the board with every shop with guitars. Yamaha's hurting. Everybody's hurting. They can't get them out the door fast enough. And production is slightly lowered by the pandemic. So, yeah. So there you go. I hope that helps you. Maybe come back to us in a week or two and let us know what you found. And if there is a cutaway red label. I don't know that there is. There could be, but I haven't seen one. So there you go. Thanks a lot. I'm glad you like Yamaha. I love them too. Yes?
Yes. Tim Bennett has another question. Have you ever played a Batson guitar?
Batshit?
No. Batson?
Oh, Batson.
Yeah.
I've played some batshit guitars, I'll tell you that. Used to have a lot of them. No, I never have. I don't know it at all. Let me write that down. I learn something on this show every week. I'm assuming that's spelled just B-A-T-S-O-N?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it?
Yeah, well, that's how he spelled it.
Okay. I'll look it up, Tim. I'll look that up and find it, and I'll have it for you next week. I'll do some research. Oh, by the way, I have reached out to Pre-War Guitar Company. Now, mind you, I did some research. Those guitars are really expensive. Like, ridiculous. If you go on their site, they're building heirloom guitars that they customize by distressing them. So they can make a brand new guitar look like it's 75, 80 years old. But it's not. It's brand new. It just is distressed as if it were ancient. And these instruments look unbelievable. They're friggin' brilliant. I've never seen anything like it. And they are not cheap. Like some of the different levels of distress actually cost more money. So, like if you've got a severely distressed, like D18 style guitar, which is, they're building Martins, what they're building. Really good Martins. And that you got a severely distressed 18. I don't even want to think about what that might cost. I have a feeling it's around $6,000 to $8,000 US, somewhere's in there, maybe 5 to 7. And from what I'm seeing of them and the stuff, I mean, they're incredible. So I reached out. I sent them a letter and I sent them an email and just said, I'm just Joe Blow up here in Nova Scotia, but if you want to send me one for review, I'd be happy to ship it back or help you pay, to ship it up and back, like whatever you want to do. And I said, if you don't want to do this, these are valuable instruments. If you don't want to do it, I understand and whatever. So I sent them some links to, my, whatever I'm doing here so they can make sure I'm not, some guy playing wagon wheel up in the woods. And hopefully they'll write me back and tell me to piss off, or maybe they'll give me a deal on a guitar, or maybe they'll send one up for review or whatever. But I did look into it, and it was very fascinating. They're very well-renowned company, especially in the U.S. There's some serious heavy hitters playing those guitars. So yeah, I looked into it. Hopefully, we'll hear back from him, and I'll have some reports. We'll hear back from Dave Gagnon. Now I have to look up Batson, 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 Hansel. Sorry,
Awesome. Andy Childs is next.
Amy Childs.
Andy.
Oh, Andy. That name sounds familiar.
Okay.
Andy Childs.
Have you ever played a Norman ST68? If so, what did you think of them?
I have not. I don't know Norman. The only Normans I've ever come across were a couple of old 12 strings was the best that I was ever able to do. I don't really know much about Normans. I know some people swear by them. They're a fairly robust Canadian guitar, and that's about all I know about them. They're in that echelon of guitar that I wouldn't play them live, or I really wouldn't own one. Because they're just not what I would want in a guitar. But there's people that have bought them over the years, and they have lasted forever. And I do know that they made some freaks, as many companies do. They put their regular cookie cutter guitars, and then all of a sudden they build one. Somebody buys it, and it sounds like a pre-war Martin, and it lasts for 50 years, or whatever, 30 years. That happens. Norman's capable of doing that, and but I just never gravitated towards those instruments. All of those instruments, Godin and Seagull and Norman and Simon and Patrick and Art and Luthier, like those aren't guitars that I just ever had any interest in. I don't know why. I don't know. I just never got into them. But I know people that really swear by them, especially the Simon and Patricks. There's new models of those guitars coming out now that serious players really digging in on them. So yeah, the Normans, I don't know. I don't know enough to tell you. I know that they're an old company, been around forever, build good guitars. It's about where it ends. So who's next?
Jim Hanlon.
Triple J.
Full of questions. He says, your Tanglewood parlor is now owned by my brother John. I play it every time I visit him. Sounds amazing for a small guitar. How do you rate the brand and model?
The Tanglewoods? Well, I worked with Tanglewood for a little bit, 10 years ago or so, and I found that I've worked with companies before that were like this, that I saw the value in them. They were cheaper guitars made well, and but they couldn't stand the test of time. They couldn't, like, if you look around now, you'd be hard pressed to find a Tanglewood hanging on a hook somewhere, and that's a bad sign, right? That's a company that's like they did a big rush, and they put a lot of guitars out in the market. Some of them are really, really good. Some of them were fair to middling, and some of them were crap. Same thing with Sigma. Sigma came, I worked with them as well because I thought this is a great guitar for little money, very sharp looking guitars, great sound, and most of them are really good. They did a big glut of instruments into the market, and then they disappeared. And that's what happened to Tanglewood. And so, I mean, they're not bad guitars. I had quite a few of them, but they're gone from the marketplace, really. They don't have a presence here the way they did. They had quite a big presence, especially when I was working with them, which is why I decided to work with them, right? They had a good presence, they had good pricing, and somehow now they have a larger presence in the UK and Europe, but they're still a budget guitar. So yeah, the one that John has was a real freak. That thing was beautiful guitar, and but it's like I said, they sort of drifted off into the ether, and so how do you get behind that, right? If you can't represent somebody that's not in the market anymore. So yeah, so there you go. If you have one and it's a good one, hold on to it because they really did make some really freakishly good guitars because they were all factory made, instruments. So there you go. Tanglewood. Who's next?
B World.
Hmm.
Have you played a Japanese Ibanez John Schofield model?
No, I haven't. I've heard rumblings about them. I don't know about them at all. I'll look at. I was always an Ibanez fan when I was a kid because of Joe Satriani. And years ago, I had an Ibanez. Can't remember who. It was a signature model. Might have been Joe. Can't remember. But they've made some really cool acoustics over the years, Ibanez, and they still do. They still make very interesting instruments. They make good banjos. I've seen some really nice Ibanez banjos, like 5 strings, and of course, sound design, their basses. Uh, John Schofield model. I'm going to look that up. I will get back to you on that one too. Schofield. John Schofield model. Cool. Yep, I'll gladly take a look for that. See what I think about that one. I'm assuming they must still be on the market, hopefully, but we'll look. Okay, who's next?
Mike Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever played a Martin OM28? And what do you think?
I'm sure I have. I've played all the 28s, and it was a Martin. I can just tell you, whatever it was, an OM28 is a Martin, and is a Martin is a Martin, right? If it's a good one, it sounds incredible, and it plays incredible. And if it's a bad one, I wouldn't give you 5 cents for it. And that's all subjective, right? So if you found one or you own one or whatever, and it's a dandy, don't let go of it because Martins do age well, and usually if they have a truss system in them and they're well built from the factory and they come out and they're good, keep a hold of it and an OM28 is a bit of a rare beast, And I remember, I think Ray Legier actually had an OM28 with a cutaway, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was an OM28, and it was a nice guitar. He had that for quite a while, but he might be able to elaborate. He'll probably get a hold of me tomorrow, tell me what it really was, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It was an OM28. I'm almost positive of that with a cutaway. So yeah, my experience with all Martins has been the same across the board, right? It's all 28s sound the same to me, and all 18s are the same, and that's the way it is. That's a good thing. They're consistent, right? If you want a 28, you can virtually go and play 8 or 10 28s and find the one that really kills you, right? And because they're all virtually the same with just very subtle differences based upon what day of the week they come out of the shop. So the OM28, I know I've played more than one of them actually, and I don't recall having any bad feelings about it. Just if it's a good Martin, it's a good Martin, and that's the way they are. So there you go. Who's next?
John from Ireland.
John from Ireland.
Do you listen? He has 2 questions. Do you listen or play any music by Irish musicians? Example, Van Morrison or Thin Lizzy? And what can you tell us about the gloss finish process on Boucher guitars?
I don't play any Irish artists really. I've dabbled in, I suppose, in some stuff that I took from, I don't know. I don't even know how to approach that. I'm such a huge fan of those artists. Sometimes I don't go near things because I don't feel I can do it justice. So there's a lot of that stuff I listen to and just go, well, I'd like to sing that, but holy crap, I can't sing it like that. So as for instrumental things, absolutely. Like I've lifted stuff off of Sean McGuire and any number of Irish musicians just floor me, right? What was the second part of the finish on Boucher's? I, at this particular moment, can't speak intelligently to that. I don't want to get it wrong. But maybe Guillaume's watching. I don't know. He could be. But I'm not going to even comment on it. It's a common finish, right? I don't want to get the wrong one. There's 2 or 3 kinds, and except to just say to you that the finish on Boucher guitars is absolutely gorgeous and incredibly thin, and that's all I can tell you right off the top of my head. I don't know. I can't remember if it's nitrocellulose or which one it is. I can't remember. I don't want to say the wrong one. So, yeah. So that's yeah. Their finishes are just flawless. You hold the guitar and it just looks like you can reach your hand into it, right? That's the way all of mine are. So hopefully that helps you. I hope. Who's next?
Scott McCone.
Scotty McCone gets the last question before the trivia.
In your original songs, you use a lot of interestingly colored chords. Where does that influence come from? Did you develop these yourself, or are they your version of things you've heard?
I think I got most of my early ideas from Lightfoot and the Beatles. The Beatles always were, to me, the chord monsters of the universe, and so was Lightfoot. Lightfoot had such an encyclopedia of potentials when he wrote a song, and the Beatles were the same. They were not afraid of, taking the progression somewhere you didn't think it should or could go, but they would do it. And I think generally and I was also heavily influenced by Bach, because I've always heard modern music in his music. Whenever I hear Bach, I always equate the movements and chords he chose, which what they were. He invented modern music, right? Chords like you hear a chord in a tune like this one. That's a Bach chord. It happens all the time in his music, right? And chords with sevenths with thirds over them. But that's a Bach idea, right? So that those things just if you listen to what he does and listen to the Beatles and listen to Lightfoot and listen to people who really pull all the stops out in their chord progressions, it rubs off on you. You can't help it. And then you start finding your own based upon learning theirs. So that's pretty well how I've done it most of my life. I think in recent years I've become more simplistic. I have leaned away from doing complicated things to carry my lyric. But that being said, I still do it from time to time. I still like to use interesting voicings, and I'm more even now starting to lean towards not only voicing but timing. When something changes, and if it changes to that place more than once, I change up the bass note that goes with it, right? So I might go into a 5 and play the one of the 5, but then I might go into the 5 and play the third of it, or play 1 over 5, or anything. Just like there's all these options that you have with every voicing you choose, because you have the 3-chord or 4-chord voice, then you have a bass note. So those things are all interchangeable. You can do anything you want to with them. And so there you go. That goes all the way back to Bach, because that's what he did. He played all these weird chords with these unexpected bass lines, right, that are all syncopated. And if you start listening to people like Lightfoot and the way the Beatles worked, where they did unexpected chord changes you didn't even see coming, that's sort of a perfect storm for learning how to create something weird and different, right? So here's the trivia question for tonight, and we have some cool prizes from both of our stores again. So the first two people that answer this question correctly will win one of the following things. Tonight at G&G Music, Annie Ganesh, Glencoe Hotel, he's got, you'll get your Levy strap with the G&G logo on it, set of strings and a winder, of course, for free. And he's got $50 off any Recording King guitar that sells this week or is ordered this week. So my buddy that just asked about the Series 11, Glenn can get that for you and give you $50 off if you order it this week from him. And then on the Boucher side, if you buy a Boucher there this week, you're going to get a free custom Boucher strap from Levy's. It's a $125 value. It's a gorgeous strap. I have 2 or 3 of them here that I snagged as freebies. And then at Fantasy Music in Halifax on Spring Garden Road, Fantasy Music, you get a $25 gift certificate to spend anywhere in the store. They are the resellers of Boucher, Yamaha, Recording King. All the gear you could possibly want is in that place. They even have a recording studio downstairs. They're starting a music school upstairs. So that's going to be cool. And you get a nice Yamaha Red Label t-shirt. And they are cool. I have one. Ginger's got one. They're awesome.
Before the question.
Yes.
A super chat came through. Our internet froze.
Okay.
And all the chat froze. So it all just came in right now.
All right.
But we need to answer the question.
Okay.
So it's from Cam.
Hey, Cam.
What guitar did you use in the Stomping Tom 80th birthday celebration?
That was an Ovation Adamus that I searched high and low for. It was a very, very expensive guitar. And I kept it for a few years and eventually traded it. And I regret the hell out of that. I wish I'd have kept that guitar. It was a very, very nice guitar. For like an Adamus is their highest end custom shop work graphite top, and it was a really cool guitar. And I don't know. I just got tired of it, and it was a lot of money tied up in something that was valueless because you can't resell Ovations. They have no value. And I had somebody become interested in it at a Long McQuaid, and I traded it in there, and that's what happened to it. But it was an Ovation Adamus. Who's next? Is there another one there?
Nope.
That's it? Thanks, Cam. To our question. Everybody loves the Beach Boys. I don't know why I thought of this question tonight, but it's a good one. And you probably were going to get this instantly. When Brian Wilson had his first major breakdown on the airplane, where he lost his mind, had to be carried off and hospitalized, they had to stop touring, and they had to stop touring until they found a replacement for Brian. And they found one, and he worked with them for quite a long time while Brian recuperated. Played the bass and sang all the parts that Brian Wilson did. What was that guy's name? Who replaced Brian Wilson in the Beach Boys when Brian took sick the first time? If you get this, I'll be proud of you.
I don't know if nobody's answering or if the chat just froze again. It's really hard.
Well, we'll just sit here and twiddle our thumbs until...
Can you play us a waiting tune?
Yeah, let's play a waiting tune.
Wait for the internet to come back to life.
We got lots of bars.
I'm on the house internet over here.
Oh.
Oh no, look at it.
Nothing yet?
No.
We're still frozen.
I mean, your video's playing.
Ah, the joys of the internet.
You might have to announce the winner next week.
Hmm.
I don't have.
This has never happened before.
Only that once at G&G when we had no internet.
Why don't you jump on the other internet? Just switch Wi-Fi. We have to have a winner. We can't just not have a winner.
The video's playing with the chat. Is it?
And Jill is cleaning her foot to not much use. We're trying to get set up. We might have to do this after, I guess, maybe tomorrow. Because the comments will eventually come through. What we're going to do is pick the first 2 correct answers. Yeah.
Okay, we're reconnected. I still don't see anything though.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just keep an eye on the comments when they finally load up for us. The first 2 people, we will contact you. You will send us an email to us, and we'll forward you on to your prize, whichever one we give there, to the 2 first correct answers. So anyhow, start the music, Ginger. The interwebs have failed us, but it happens. Believe me, around here it happens all the time. Did that fail too? Oh, there we go. So, there you go. There's String Theory, another Wednesday night. I don't know how many of these we've done now. It's ridiculous. It's my favorite day of the week. So, we wish you well, and thanks for being here with us. If you like the show, please subscribe. If you hadn't hit subscribe, and tell all your friends to hit subscribe. There's a lot of people out there watching us, and they don't subscribe. They don't know they have to. You have to do it. It helps us so much. So subscribe, hit join if you want to join the private membership. And that's it for another Wednesday. We'll see you next week. Guitar players unite. Because whoever has the most at the end, when he dies, wins the game. And I hope I don't die for a while because I haven't got enough yet. See you soon.